On today's episode of PDubs Arcade Loft, we are going to take a look at the AtGames Legends BitPixel LED Marquee. Okay guys, we're back, and as you can see here, I have the original PIXELCADE Marquee, designed and made by Al Linky over at PIXELCADE. And that one I did pay for out of my own pocket. I have that on my AtGames Legends 1.0 cabinet. And what I'm going to do here, of course, is this BitPixel LED Marquee from AtGames. I'm going to install this on my AtGames Legends 1.1 cabinet that you see right there. I was really happy that AtGames sent me this product for review because I have a lot of experience tinkering with this thing. Make sure you guys check out the PIXELCADE playlist on my channel, where I show you how you can get this thing synced up with a Raspberry Pi, as well as with your AtGames Legends Ultimate devices. Alright guys, I've already opened this up before, and I've taken out the instruction booklet and the foam padding that comes in here. Everything was packaged just fine. Inside of the box, of course, you're going to find a power brick. This is the power brick in order to power the Marquee device, as well as a separate power cable that goes into the power brick into your wall outlet. Plenty of feet of length. Also, you're going to find a lovely bag of screws. That's right, guys, a bag of 4 screws, which you'll need for mounting purposes, depending on your cabinet. For the 1.1 cabinet, we're just going to need 3 screws to get this thing mounted to the existing cabinet. AtGames will also provide you a very long USB cable. This plugs into the back of the Marquee and then also connects into the USB ports on the arcade device in order to display your images. And of course, the main event, the BitPixel LED Marquee. Here it is right here. Now, I do have the original PIXELCADE Marquee, and what I can tell you is that there have been some design changes on this Marquee versus the original PIXELCADE that Al Linky was making by himself in his basement dungeon. As you can see here, this thing is more of a box design. This thing has a nice shape to it. It's got a very good weight to it. And of course, everything feels solidly built, solidly constructed, and made of quality. What I do like about this is that AtGames did make this as more of a box shape with a proper cover on the back of the unit, as you can see right there, to easily mount to the existing screws on the device, as well as to protect all the hardware. Whereas on the original PIXELCADE, Al just had this as a flat board with the motherboard or the PCB board and all that kind of stuff you see right there. All that stuff was kind of just sticking out on the back of the board. Now everything is like encased properly, if you will. It actually looks pretty good. I like the changes. Okay guys, let's give you a tour of the back of this so you know what's going on here. So right there in the memory card slot is a microSD memory card that should already be preloaded with a bunch of PIXELCADE images for you. So that's right there, guys. Make sure that's already in there. Make sure it didn't fall out inside the box or anything like that. If it's loose or missing, definitely want to find it and get that in there, or else nothing is going to work. And right there, that is going to be the USB port that you're going to plug your USB cable in, as well as a Bluetooth/USB switch is right here, guys. And make sure that that switch, that little black tab right there, make sure that is pointed towards the USB port to make sure that this is in USB mode, not Bluetooth mode. If the switch is pointed the wrong way, it won't work. That's right, guys. As of the posting of this video, the BitPixel LED Marquee, just like the PIXELCADE Marquee, only works via USB. Does not work via Bluetooth yet. Hopefully we'll see that coming down the road. And of course, to get this thing installed, your very first step you're going to do, guys, is remove all 6 screws from your Marquee and get that Marquee off of there. If you have a 1.1 cabinet, they do have some adhesive on the back of the Marquee, so you might have to pry it. It might do a little bit of peeling on the black finish on the cabinet, but this is all going to be covered up anyway by the PIXELCADE. But yep, get that old Marquee off of there. No reason to mount it on top of the old one, because you're never going to want to look at this thing again once you have this awesome Marquee on here. And just hang that thing on the wall. Heading over to the Marquee, we're going to go ahead and plug the USB cable into the USB port on the Marquee. And we're going to take 1/2 of the power supply. We're going to take the side with the power brick, and we're going to plug that little power port jack into the power port right there on the PCB. Next step, of course, is to move to the back of the cabinet and go ahead and undo these screws holding the backboard onto the back of the cabinet and carefully remove your backboard. On a 1.1 cabinet, there's 3 cables, the Ethernet cable, and 2 power cables plugged into the ports on this backboard, so be careful. Make sure you unplug those before you fully remove the back plate. Ooh, take a look inside. And yep, that right there, guys. Got to make sure you remove that stuff plugged in there before you fully remove the plate. Why did I already plug the stuff into the back of the Marquee? Well, as you can see here, guys, there's not a whole heck of a lot of room, especially guys with big hands like me, to get up there and get that stuff plugged into the ports on the back of the Marquee. That's why we did it. Now we're going to grab the new screws that AtGames provided us. We're not going to over-tighten. We're just going to screw them in until the screw threads run out. Okay, on the 1.1 cabinet, you're only going to put 3 screws in to mount it. 1 on the top left, 1 on the top right, and 1 on the lower middle. That's all you need, is just those 3 screws. You'll notice the screws stick out, and that's what the frame is going to mount to on the Marquee. If you have a 1.0 cabinet, the screws are going to go in a different place, but they'll be spelled out for you on the directions included with the Marquee. Okay, at this point I have the new Marquee sitting on the control deck, and I'm just going to very carefully thread the wires for both the USB cable and for that power brick into the back of the cabinet. The power brick cable is long enough that you can easily thread that in. Do not drop it in there. You might accidentally hit your motherboard or other wires and damage your machine. Just casually thread that in and you're ready. Because at this point, guys, it's just like hanging a picture on a wall. Everything's going to line up just fine. Everything is cut to fit. Go ahead and make sure all 3 screws fit into the slots on back of the Marquee, and it's going to hold it in place nice and tight. I have no concerns about this thing falling off, and boom, it's done. It's mounted. You might need just to dust it off, get your fingerprints, dog hair, and all that off of there. If you have it mounted correctly on all 3 screws, it's going to look like this, guys. Perfectly straight, no dips, no twists, no turns. Don't mind the dust on the back of the machine, I could care less about that, but as you can see here, it's going to be mounted flush and look great. Since the LED is still mounted and we're not going to use it for now, the LED bar that sat behind the old Marquee, we're going to go ahead and unplug it. That's the cable for it right there, guys. It's not glued in or anything. Just go ahead and pop that out. That way that LED bar is not in the back of the cabinet. You won't have any light bleed or anything going on. Now at this point, guys, you can go ahead and plug back in your Ethernet cable as well as the 2 power cables that belong on that port on the back of the kick plate. Make sure you run your wires through for your USB as well as for the new power supply for the Marquee out the back of the cabinet. As you can see here, you don't even really need to drill holes. You could just run the cables out the backboard. Everything will screw in just fine. And go ahead and get your new Marquee plugged in. Once you plug it in, it'll start running through in a track mode. Well, what do I mean by track mode, guys? So unlike the original PIXELCADE, when the BitPixel LED is plugged in and not in use, it's just going to have a blinking Legends Ultimate logo on it right there. Whereas the original PIXELCADE will run through just a demo of all the logos. One difference between the 2 products. When pointing a cell phone camera or even a DSLR camera at these BitPixel LED or any kind of LED Marquee, you guys will notice in the video it does look kind of dark, but guys, this is actually really bright and nice looking in person. But on these videos, they are going to look several shades darker than what they really look like. That USB cable coming from the Marquee, I went ahead and I just plugged that into one of the USB ports on the front of the cabinet. Yes, if you have a USB hub plugged into the front of the cabinet, you could go ahead and plug this into a USB hub. But for just sake of ease of use here, we're just going to do one thing at a time. There it is, plugged into the front. Either in your USB hub or in both ports, you're going to need the PIXELCADE plugged in, as well as your Flash Drive X, the flash drive you're going to use for the Flash Drive X applications. So that's what I have plugged in right there. If you're an experienced user, you can skip ahead a little bit, but if you're brand new, what you want to do here at this point, of course, is head over to the Flash Drive X tile under the settings. It should be all the way over here. There it is, Flash Drive X. Click on that, and then you're going to want to go ahead and click on Format. So it'll format that USB drive, that blank USB drive you have plugged in. It's a real quick process. Do you want to format? Yes. Go ahead and click it. It'll process. It'll say, boom, formatted successfully. After it formats, you just click A right there. You want to go ahead and mount it. Mounting means activating it. So we want to go ahead and get this activated, and it'll say mount success. Keep in mind, guys, if you've already set up a Flash Drive X flash drive with your CoinOps and stuff build, you don't have to do that step, because the next step is for everybody. You head on over to the PIXELCADE X tile application under the App Store menu, App Store X. It says, do you want to install PIXELCADE X onto your Flash Drive X? You click yes and let that install. Once PIXELCADE X application installs, go ahead and click that launch the application button, guys. It'll go ahead and get your PIXELCADE X fired up and synced up with your Legends Ultimate Arcade machine. It is going to probably blink a couple of times like that. That way you know it's getting started, and then once it runs through the startup process, you will get a welcome message. Now pay attention to this. See how nice and quick the message is scrolling across the screen. Let's keep that in mind as we move on towards CoinOps X. And when it comes to the games that are built into the cabinet, your ArcadeNet games, as well as all of the 300 built-in games, as well as if you did have the 1.0 cabinet, your 350 games, all of the marquees for all of the built-in games as well as the ArcadeNet games should be on here. Any game that they haven't added artwork yet, which, by the way, I spoke with Al at PIXELCADE, we got a lot more artwork and stuff on the way. A lot more animated marquees and stuff that'll be coming down the road in a future update pushed out through the application. But yeah, all of your built-in games and ArcadeNet games, the marquees should be there. If they're not, you'll just see a scrolling text like this until an actual marquee is in there, or created, I should say. Unfortunately, guys, with these DSLR cameras or cell phones or anything, you point them at these marquees, they're not going to capture the color of the LED lights. So unfortunately, these look a lot dimmer than what they look like in person. These things are very bright, animated, gorgeous, beautiful, and they definitely pop. And of course, there's animated marquees built in with more animated marquees on the way. These marquees definitely look at least 3 to 4 shades darker on this video than they actually do in person. If you take a look at the one on the left, that is the original PIXELCADE LED marquee, and then of course the one on the right is the one that AtGames is distributing, the BitPixel LED marquee. You'll notice that the BitPixel LED marquee does appear to be a couple of shades darker than the original PIXELCADE, and this is because the tint on the acrylic overlay covering the front of the marquee is actually a darker tint than what Al used on the original PIXELCADE. This actually addresses some fan feedback Al had received in the past where folks said his marquee was just too bright, which I do agree. It's bright and tight, it's beautiful, but it's also a little bit too bright. With this extra additional shading, darker tint on the AtGames version of the BitPixel LED, I'm actually liking it better. It's easier on the eyes. In fact, if you don't even own the original PIXELCADE marquee, guys, you never would have even noticed this if I didn't tell you. But as you can see there, Al's is a bit brighter, and of course, the AtGames version is a little bit darker, but it actually looks better in person because it's not super bright, burning your eyes out. Don't forget, these marquees are not as bright in this video as they are on person. And what about your add-on games, guys? Well, yes, if you have CoinOps X, Add-on X, that kind of stuff, provided your game files match the exact same game names stored in the PIXELCADE library, such as Space Invaders is listed as Space Invaders, etc. You could have a USB hub with your CoinOps X, your Add-on X games, as well as your Flash Drive X. As you can see here, I got a USB dongle hanging off the side here with the BitPixel LED plugged in. You could get all that plugged in and it will work, because guys, you do have to activate PIXELCADE X just like you do CoinOps X every time you want to use those third-party applications. Now you'll notice here, when it's plugged into a USB hub, you'll notice that the marquee wording for special messaging and stuff like this, you notice that's crawling a bit slower. That is the only bug I've detected, but I'm pretty sure AtGames and Al Linky will be able to fix that and push out an update. But yeah, when it's plugged into a hub, it definitely crawls a lot slower than it does on when it's plugged directly into the cabinet. But as you can see here, guys, once your CoinOps X gets fired up, it will be compatible with your CoinOps X games. You can start scrolling through them, and the marquees will change with your CoinOps X games, your Add-on X games, provided all the file names share the same name type. If you have a public build of CoinOps X, you're going to be just fine if you didn't do it yourself. Overall, the BitPixel LED Marquee is $200. You do have to purchase it through AtGames directly on their website. I'll have a link in the video description below. Early adopters who made reservations, they got to get it for $100, guys. That $100 is so well worth it. But if you are interested in this, even at $200, I think you're getting a spectacular marquee. It's got great functionality today. They look great. They're easy to use, easy to install, easy to set up with the existing games on the cabinet, as well as with your add-on games. And not only that, guys, there's a ton more updates, features, and cool things coming down the road with this PIXELCADE software that you don't want to miss. If you enjoyed the review, give us a thumbs up. Leave your comments and feedback below. And as always, guys, thank you for subscribing.